Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Small Biz Updates. This is a collaboration between NCTV 18 and the Nantucket Chamber of Commerce as part of the Keep the Rock Solid campaign. Today, I wanted to welcome Marina Jube, our Director of Marketing at the Nantucket Chamber of Commerce, as well as Margaret LaForest and Susan Whitaker. They're joining us from the Massachusetts Office of Business Development, and they're the regional directors of the Greater Boston area. So welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Christy.
So we're going to start off talking about the phased reopening of Governor Baker's plan. I'm going to hand it over to you, Margaret, to walk us through the phases.
Okay. So on May 18th, Governor Baker announced the Reopening Advisory Board's report. The board was co-chaired by Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, as well as Secretary of the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, Mike Keneally. The Mass Office of Business Development is the executive office, the Baker and Polito administration's executive office economic development team, and we report under Secretary Mike Keneally. We've been very engaged in this process. In normal times, we would be interfacing with companies about connecting them to the various resources and programs and incentives offered by the Commonwealth and any of our partner agencies. So Sue and I will be familiar faces to you and be happy to also work with companies in that capacity. But today we're here to focus on reopening our economy. We are currently in phase one still. Was started on May 18th, and just to be clear, the only date certain is May 18th. We are under the Safer at Home advisory, and all residents who are at high risk for COVID-19 should remain home except for essential needs. Residents are required to cover their face when they cannot maintain 6 feet of social distancing in public. And it's very important for those businesses, if an employee or a customer is not wearing a mask, that you ask them why they are not wearing the mask. Because if it is for medical or religious reasons, you need to be making accommodations in the workplace and in your place of business. As for the phase progress, Governor Baker did announce that yesterday, Monday, June 1st, he announced an executive order allowing phase two businesses to begin this week to bring their employees back to work to prepare for the start of phase two. And on Saturday, June 6th, Governor Baker will announce the date that phase two begins. Just to be clear, this looks like forward progress is what we're hoping for, but it may be that we need to go backwards through the phases. So we could get into phase two as anticipated, need to return if the public health data shows, we may need to return to phase one. We could get to phase three and then maybe need to return to phase two. That could be done by industry, that could be done by region, that could be done throughout the Commonwealth. But we are optimistic with the governor's scheduled date to announce the start of phase two. So you saw a few weeks ago that Governor Baker announced the mandatory workplace safety standards for reopening. And this is how businesses are going to address social distancing, hygiene protocols, staffing and operations, and cleaning and disinfecting. I should mention that all of the slides Sue and I are going to be showing you today are from mass.gov/reopening. They are directly out of the Reopening Advisory Board report. So any of this information you can access, and we're happy, Christy, to send them over to you as well to post on the Chamber website. What must your business do prior to opening? So first, we want you to go to mass.gov/reopening, scroll down, and there's a link, when can my business reopen? Click on that, and that is where you're going to see the guidance and determine the phase for your industry. All businesses must complete the COVID-19 control plan. This is a written document that is going to address how you are meeting those mandatory workplace safety standards that we've been talking about. Once this is complete, you're going to keep this on the premises. You do not need to return it into the state. You do not need to return it into your local Board of Health. This is a working document to be kept at the business. If you have multiple locations, keep this at each location. Every location must also have the compliance attestation poster visible. And this is to really send the message to your employees as well as your customers that your business has taken the steps to safely reopen and is self-attesting that you're in compliance with your COVID-19 control plan. This poster is a must. It must be posted publicly visible and really helps send the message and build that confidence, not only in your employees, but in the consumer that your business has safely reopened. The other two posters that must be displayed are the employer poster as well as the worker poster. They're very similar. This is similar to kind of HR documentation you're used to posting for your company, and needs to be also posted in a visible location. Employer poster talks about what are the steps that you as an employer have completed. In the worker poster, what is expected of the worker. In the compliance, in the control plan, it addresses that you're required to train your employees on the mandatory workplace safety standards. Not a must, but a great best practice when you're training your employees and providing this information. Some employers are sending it in writing, asking the employees to acknowledge and to sign that they've received the training and they're going to abide by the mandatory workplace safety standards. The sector-specific protocols and best practices. This is really the bulk of the information that is laying out by industry what is expected of you to safely reopen. You'll see that this varies depending on what your sector is, but you'll see a lot of the language carried forward. It talks about reduction in capacities, if it's an office space being at 25% capacity, the retail space at a 40% capacity. And this is the most important, aside from these other documents, the sector circular. There's a lot of information out there. If you go to mass.gov/reopening, again, click on that, when can my business reopen? And it's going to bring you to, when you scroll down the page, it tells you your 3 columns, right? First column, what is your industry? Second column, what phase you're opening? Third column, it's going to link it to any of the additional guidance that is needed for you to comply with. So for example, there is construction guidance, there's manufacturing guidance, there's car wash guidance, pet grooming. There's a whole gamut, and we're releasing it for everybody, each sector as appropriate, and that's where you're going to find it. Just this past few days, the most recent announced was the retail guidance, the restaurant guidance, and the accommodations guidance. So your outdoor education and outdoor recreation has substantial guidance links as well. So you really, if those are the industries you're in, get to the website and find what is appropriate for you. There have been some updates. For example, the restaurants in phase 2, it's been clarified that outdoor dining is going to start when phase 2 begins, with indoor dining following later. A lot of advocacy for gyms and fitness studios. Currently, they're allowed to operate small outdoor fitness classes, and that's up to 10 people. That includes the instructor, right? So there's guidance about, advanced registration, advanced payment, really minimizing that personal contact and these space limitations to conduct that class safely. In phase 2, they're going to expand it into some personal training. You're going to want to, if that's your business, get onto the website and find out those sector-specific protocols for you. Obviously, beaches, summer is here in Nantucket, and the beach guidance has been released with the beach management plans. They're talking about in phase 1, 12 feet between your beach blankets, and really reducing that into phase 2 with 6 feet. We really want to have people enjoying the outdoors, and you'll just see the changes in the outdoor recreation guidance. I'll send that slide deck to you as well to make sure they have that at the chamber, easily accessible. On the sector-specific and the COVID control plan, the enforcement of these is done at the local level with your local Board of Health. It's a partnership with the State Department of Public Health, with the Division of Labor Standards, in some cases local law enforcement. We're having you self-certify. And the important message for the business owners to know from the state and from the Nantucket community is that these enforcement agencies, we anticipate being complaint-driven. Maybe if it's a customer sees something or a staff member sees something and a complaint calls in, it's going to be reactive. And when these enforcement agencies were to respond, the business message is, we, the enforcement agencies, if they are called to your business, are there to help you. This is not to penalize a business, rather to support a business, make sure that businesses have the tools to safely reopen. So if you're not finding the sector-specific protocol and weren't addressing one of the needs, we're going to help you make sure you know where that information is, and bring you into compliance. And that is the goal on the enforcement. Okay, child care. And currently, child care facilities are closed, except for those that were deemed essential. And the essential services childcare capacity has been expanded to anyone needing childcare. In phase 1, we are really sending the message that if you can, a family can avoid group childcare, to please do so. But if you do need access, there is a portal at mass.gov/reopening, and you can scroll down and click on a community, enter a community, and we'll propagate what child care facilities are accepting. There was additional guidance around youth sports for phase 2, about summer camps and recreational day camps. So that information for those facilities is being posted. So you'll want to stay in touch with who is going to be able to open in phase 2 around that as well. We really recognize the need for child care in reopening our economy. And there's been an active group working on that. Transportation is another one, with the public transit for phase 1. What has not really much has changed compared to the stay-at-home order, and we are adding services into phase 2. Also, for personal protective equipment, I'm sure the chamber in Nantucket has some great chamber members that are selling this on island, but if not, if you're looking to source you need a larger scale, the Massachusetts has invested much into our local manufacturers that have pivoted their production lines to create PPE so that Massachusetts could have the supply we needed. And those vendors have been vetted and are posted so that if you need masks, surgical gowns, or what the equipment is you need, there's a drop-down menu and it shows you and directs you to that information. I've also been a part of the Cape Cod Reopening Task Force that meets twice a week. It is led by, co-chaired by Senator Jillian Sayre, as well as Wendy Northcross from the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. And Wendy is also a part of the subcommittee for hospitality for the Reopening Advisory Board. They are working on a substantial the guidance for the tourism industry, and knowing that that is of important value to the Nantucket community. When I receive that information, we'll share that with you, of course, as soon as we receive it with the Nantucket Chamber. But we recognize the tourism and hospitality needs for your summer economy, and we'll be providing that as soon as we have that. You'll see there's substantial guidance and information, like the fishing charters are up and going, boating charters are up and going, outdoor recreation. And so I'll make sure that that document is available to you. It really is laid out well and will help those industries navigate. And so we'll post that on the chamber, give that to the chamber to post on their website. This is the contact information slide for the Mass Office of Business Development. There are 6 of us that cover the Commonwealth for the Baker-Polito administration, and we are happy to field questions. I know we were unable to have the public join us today, and want to make sure that you know we are available for you, both Sue and I. And if you call us or email us, we're the humans at the end of the line that are going to make sure to be responsive to you. So we do welcome you to contact us. And with that, I will turn it over to Sue for an update on our Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I appreciate that. So to kind of share with you a little bit of an update with unemployment insurance, we have continued to see a decrease in unemployment insurance claims. This past week, there were roughly 38,000 new claims which were filed, which is roughly around 460% of 460 decrease in claims from the previous week. There has been a significant amount of impact on the system, as one can imagine. So Secretary Rosalind Acosta, who heads up Labor and Workforce Development, has taken a customer service staff from about 50 who supported unemployment claims to now over 1,900 employees to support all of the calls that are coming in. So they are roughly serving between 30,000 and 40,000 returning calls and receiving inbound and making outbound calls a day. In addition, they are also hosting virtual town halls on a daily basis, which is a place where individuals can go and where they can have claimants can address their questions and needs and have those met. They are being conducted in English, Spanish, and in Portuguese. Those are done daily and can be found online. And over 260,000 constituents across the Commonwealth have participated in these virtual town halls. So a press release was issued by the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development last week sharing that they have been impacted as part of a nationwide scam where personal information has been taken from a prior national data breach, and where individuals are attempting to file fraudulent unemployment claims. So it's very important if you or one of your employees have been impacted, meaning they have received a letter stating that they have applied for unemployment and they actually never had applied, that it's very important that they are directed to the unemployment insurance website, and I will have the link posted here, where you can fill out a form where you can show that you have been impacted by this fraud. And if you're not comfortable filling out the form, there's also a phone number that you can call, and I'll provide that number as well. In addition to just the nightmare that this is causing for individuals who've been impacted, it's also now causing the state to tighten up their security, which is having an impact on individuals who do have claims that are looking to get their unemployment, and now it's slowing up the process for them who actually need to collect their unemployment insurance. So it's a very unfortunate turn of events. On some better news related to unemployment, Governor Baker signed a new law last week that expanded certain benefits for the unemployed and protected employers from negative impacts to their experience ratings due to the COVID-19 crisis. So the law expands the current claims period from 26 to 30 weeks of benefits for those who are eligible, and lifts the cap on dependency benefits. And the language in the law states that the current crisis-related claims will not be charged to an employer's account and will not be included in the calculation of an employer's experience rate. So this is something that we anticipated we were going to be seeing, but it's really nice to know that employers can rest assured that their experience ratings are not going to be impacted if they had to lay off certain staff due to the COVID-19 crisis. So that's the unemployment update that I have for you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for reviewing the phases and unemployment. One of the first questions I have kind of related to the unemployment, I know you just mentioned that it's been expanded. On Nantucket, we saw last week that we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the state, along with the other Cape towns in Martha's Vineyard. And just wondering if the extension applies to businesses that are kind of set to open in maybe phase 3 or phase 4. Will they still be covered if they've been closed down starting in March?
For their experience rating?
For their employees as well.
Yes, that's my understanding, that they will still be covered. But the federal additional $600 is set to expire, as far as we know, at the end of July. So I believe it's July 26th is the last time those $600 additional payments will be dispersed. However, I know there's legislation that's pending that could alter that, and that we just don't know at this point what that's going to hold.
Yeah.
The other thing I think would be important for us to share while we're here about the SBA finance programs, and Sue and I can also give guidance to your members about that, is that the Congress passed on Friday some updates. And one of the biggest issues, particularly for those seasonal businesses, is they've secured the PPP funds, the money's in the bank, and their business is closed. And so the advice for them is to keep their employees on unemployment and not utilize those funds until they reopen. The intent of the PPP was to help that business get reopened, use that funds, and then use their revenues, instead of paying their payroll with their revenues, get caught up on bills. So they're looking to extend up to 24 weeks versus that 8-week timeline, and that will really help particularly some of those phase 3 and phase 4 businesses breathe a little bit. The other thing is they're looking at extending the date that they need to restore the head count. So there's a lot of changes pending, and there was actually, so past Congress on Friday, there was hope the Senate was going to pass it today. So if there are companies out there that have questions and how your PPP loan and your pandemic unemployment insurance or your regular UA works together, how it works in partnership with the economic injury disaster loan, if you've applied to that, Sue and I can really help you balance all of that. So by all means, it's really hard to, in some of these public forums, to ask your personal questions. So we welcome those questions offline and can help businesses navigate all of those programs.
Thank you. One of our other questions that we've received is that, I know right now May 18th was the date we know we're in phase 1. Does it look like the data is trending that we're moving to phase 2 in that 3-week period?
So the May 18th is the only date certain, right? May 18th was the start date. The phase time between phases is 3 weeks. This week, Governor Baker announced that phase 2 businesses can bring their employees back to work starting this week to prepare for reopening. And the reopening in start of phase 2 is going to be announced on Saturday. So on Saturday, we'll make the announcement on what the date is that will start phase 2. So stay tuned, but yes, it does seem to be the data. But again, that's why it's not hard dates, is that it is data, not dates. We are watching very closely the health metrics and making the decisions. So hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
So another question that we got is that one of the biggest challenges on Nantucket is our seasonality. This past Friday, the governor announced phase 2 will include lodging, restaurants with outdoor dining. Do you see indoor dining, museums, and other tourist attractions being able to open sooner for some regions over others? An example could be for the Cape and Islands to be able to open museums ahead of the rest of the regions.
Yep. So for restaurants, phase 2 starts with outdoor seating, and subsequently in phase 2, we will add indoor seating. So that has been clarified. As far as museums, there are some that are outdoor museums in phase 2, outdoor recreation. So as to what we recognize the seasonality, it is possible, I think, for them to do that. There has not been any commitment, but I will tell you that there is a very active tourism and hospitality subcommittee of the Reopening Advisory Board. As you know, Nantucket business owner from Cape Air, Linda Markham, is on the Reopening Advisory Board and well representing Nantucket for the administration. And that she believes she's also part of that subcommittee group. So we are anticipating updated guidance. There is a very strong advocacy in tourism and hospitality. I don't have additional information to share with you at this time, but know that as soon as we have it, we will get that to you.
Oh, thank you.
So you also mentioned that phase 1 opened beaches with the 12 feet social distancing, and then phase 2 is going to adjust that to 6 feet. Do you have you been getting the feeling from hearing from others at the state level that this might be a trend where, phase 2 will roll out something where retails can open at 40%, and maybe in phase 3 that would be relaxed a little bit?
Correct. And in particular, there's specific outdoor recreation guidance that's been released, and it really spells out what phase and what expanded services through the phases. So like classic example, right now, the medical, right? It's highly preventative care, it's pediatric care. People are ready to go to the dentist. When can that happen? So as we get through the phases, additional services will be allowed by the sector. So yes, that is the plan, but the details are not all determined as of yet specifically.
Thank you.
So another question we got is, so here on Nantucket, we're running multiple campaigns on how to join in our success, specifically how to visit here and stay safe and keep our community safe. Is the state doing this statewide as well?
Yes, so they are working on a marketing campaign, and specifically a tourism and seasonality. There's been very strong advocacy, in particular for the Cape and Berkshires, two regions of the Commonwealth that are particularly affected. And as you know, reopeningcapecod.org has been the task force co-chaired by Senator Sear and Wendy Northcross that is trying to be really communicative with that information as well.
Perfect, thank you.
You go on to mass.gov/reopening and you can't find the specific details for your business or industry. Is there an email or a person to contact for questions?
Yes, so you can submit a question directly. So there's been a lot of industry wanting to advocate, and there's clearly some need for clarification or something not applicable. And if it's a question, the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development team is responding. But if it's advocacy, it's being integrated into the committee and the subcommittees that are working on the guidance. So for example, the personal fitness center gyms have had a lot of advocacy when they found out they were in phase 3, saying we can do this safely, we can do it outdoors. And so a lot of that input could come through this portal. So if you scroll down that page, it shows you where you can submit your question or feedback. And we welcome you to do that. Sue and I here are also available as a resource. And I know, Christy, I want to thank you for your participation every Friday. Our office, through the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, Secretary Mike Keneally hosts a call for the Chambers of Commerce with Lieutenant Governor Polito, as well often as the Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, Rosa Costa. And you're always participating on that. So we do appreciate that you and I and Sue are able to work together throughout the week. So as you have questions, you know how to get in touch with us, and we really encourage you. That is why we are the field team and are to be there to be responsive to you and to your members.
Thank you. And I know Marina's participated in those calls as well, and we find them so valuable. As soon as we get off the call, we have information for our members, and it's such a great resource to have for chambers and business organizations. Marina, do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
I want to thank you both for coming on today, and Marina and I are going to hop on to talk a little bit about some chamber updates that are going on, and you guys are welcome to hop off, and we will plan to have you guys back in a couple of weeks as we move through these phases.
Thank you very much.
So Marina, we have some updates going on at the chamber. Do you want to start by mentioning what's coming up this week?
Yeah, so this Thursday at 2 p.m., we are going to be having a webinar with Schwartz Hannum PC. It's going to be on reopening the workplace in the new normal and what to expect and how to prepare for that. You can register online at nantucketchamber.org/chamber, and there's also more information on there as well.
Awesome. And we're very thankful last week to have Will on this show. And so it'll be an expansion of that with very helpful information. Schwartz Hannum has been doing these webinars every week for different businesses and chambers and schools, and it's so much valuable information. So we're very lucky to have them again this week, kind of all to ourselves.
Yeah. Christy, there are definitely some webinars coming up about retail. Could you elaborate on that?
Of course. So we've been working really closely with a small retail group to determine what the needs are of the retail as we kind of deal with COVID and move into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so on. And so in the next couple of weeks, we'll be hosting a workshop on how to set up e-commerce. This is going to help businesses who don't have an online website start a website and make sure that it has an e-commerce portion, and then also discuss what are the different options. So Marina, as our director of marketing, knows a lot about Instagram, and Facebook has just released a small business store, and there's always ways through Shopify or Squarespace to have online stores as well. So this webinar will be looking at that. We're also looking to have information about how to reconfigure your store, how to make it compliant to COVID, how to think through how people are going to be walking around, how would a customer kind of get through your space. And so talking with architects and things like that. And we will continue to talk about kind of how to market in the world of COVID. So those are all in the works, and we'll be working to put those out to our members as soon as possible.
Perfect. I know we also discussed the PPP in the earlier conversations, but would you be able to give a little bit more about the updates that are pending right now?
Absolutely. So as mentioned earlier, the House just passed some expanded guidelines for the PPP program. And so part of that would expand past June 30th. And so businesses would be able to use the funds past that date. You would also be able to hire past that date. So right now you need to have your full workforce back by June 30th. This would allow that to extend. And another option is right now, you can only use 8 weeks you can only have an 8-week period to use these funds. And we're hoping to expand that so that businesses that are reopening a little bit later would be able to use these funds. So that is going to the Senate, and hopefully as soon as, fingers crossed, that passes, it'll be signed, and that would give a lot of relief to our seasonal businesses on Nantucket.
Yeah, that definitely would help a lot of our members.
So I know all the focus is on reopening, and you have been doing a lot of work on getting that word out. Can you explain a little bit to our members on what they can do if they're opening and how to get the word out?
Yeah, so we've been trying to find a bunch of different avenues to get the word out about whether or not your business is open. We've done whether or not your restaurant is open on our COVID page on our website. And on top of that, we are also creating a category in our directory of any business that is open. So it's not just retail or restaurants, but it's every single business. Even the ones that didn't necessarily close during all of this can also be on there. So the ones that are working remotely. We've also created, through our new app, a visit widget. It's an interactive map. We have all the open retail and all of the open food and drink options, and people can plan where it is on the island to where they are and save it to what we call their plan. And to get onto that, all you have to do is email me, marina@nantucketchamber.org, and I can put you on those lists. Another recommendation I have for any chamber member is to log into your member portal. And when you log in, you're going to go to your web section and update your description. And in there, you're just going to say that you're open. You can add your hours, any protocols that you have, or the way to shop. So those are definitely all ways that you can tell the world that you're open.
Awesome. So to recap, we have the What's Open page. You can be on our app, the Visit Widget app, and you can update your member portal. So all ways to interact with the chamber and let our community and our visitors know you're open. And how do you download the app, Marina?
So all you have to do is go to nantucketchamber.org on your mobile device, and it'll pop up and have a view in the App Store, and then you just download it that way. You can also search it in the App Store on both Android and iPhone.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Small Biz Updates, and we look forward to seeing all of your work on social media and helping tell the story of our businesses and our members.